Hey everybody, this is Tracy with another edition of A View from Tracy's Point, and today we are here to recap Greenleaf Season 1, Episode 6, which was entitled, not entitled, which was titled Good Morning Calvary. So in this episode, Bishop Greenleaf leaves Grace in charge. Jacob puts his marriage in a compromising position, and Charity hires a new choir director. So Bishop Greenleaf has to go on the road for a speaking engagement and decides to ask Grace to cover for him during his absence. And of course, this doesn't sit well with Lady Mae. So to add insult to injury, he lets her know that Jacob is not coming into his pulpit, period. He doesn't care whether he's there or not. So Jacob has an idea to get back in the bishop's good graces. He invited a couple to dinner to discuss Calvary televising their sermon services, which I couldn't believe that a church as big as Calvary is, that they aren't already doing like some form of TV deal or doing like live streaming or something like that. So it must be something going on that the bishop doesn't want to do that. So Charity and Kevin are discussing her issues with Nigel, the choir director, and Kevin tells Charity to she needs to put her foot down and stand up to Nigel, and if need be, if Nigel doesn't want to get in line, that she needs to fire him. So the following day, Charity calls Nigel on his bluff because they were arguing about somebody leading a song or something, and he tells her, that Triumph, which is basically Skank's church, had been, calling him and offering him a job over there. So Charity cuts him off mid-sentence and tells him to take it. That the best thing he could do is call Basic Skanks back and take that job. So Bishop Greenleaf goes to ask Grace, if she'll preach for him, and she suggests that he let Jacob do it, same as Lady Mae. But then Grace argues that, she has no desire to preach anymore, but her father lets her know that it is part of her job as an associate pastor, so she has to do it. And so later, Grace is home with her and Sophia, or she was home and Sophia came into their little suite thing they have going on. And Grace is studying for her sermon and explains to Sophia that it isn't as easy as she thinks it is. And, it takes a lot of preparation and study to put the sermon together because it has to be scripturally sound and all that good stuff. So Grace tells Sophia that when you're giving a sermon, that it's like having someone speak through you, almost like God is speaking through you. So the words have to come through with meaning and be authentic. So then we move over to Jacob and Kerissa, and they are entertaining their guests, and it becomes obvious that the husband, whose name was Craig, is very much interested in Kerissa, and that his wife has the hots for Jacob. And then I'm just thinking, ain't this a mess? Like, what y'all about to do, like a foursome or something? So the couple, as it turns out, are swingers, and they invite Jacob and Kerissa to go out with them for the weekend. Church folks. That's why I stopped saying like hashtag church folks, because the nonsense that's going on at Calvary just don't make no sense. After Craig and his wife leaves, Jacob, is like, what the hell was that? And Kerissa walks off, and heads upstairs like, Negro, you knew what the people was coming here for, so don't even try to act like you didn't know what was going on. So as she is, undressing, Jacob comes in and he tries to get her all in the mood, but Kerissa isn't having it. She's like, boy, get away from me. Leave me alone. You cheating with me with Alexa. You think I don't know it, or I know it, but you don't care that I know it. So just get away from me and leave me alone. So then we move on to Charity, and she's freaking out, going over all the applicants for the minister of music position. And Kevin, he's over there in the chair on that phone, looking at men on the phone or whatever app it is that he keeps scrolling through. And so he teaches her, some tricks on how to get through the list by telling her that to treat the applicants as if she was on a dating site, which he seems to know a lot about these days. After Kevin teaches her, little tricks on how to narrow down the applications and get it to a manageable side, he gets up and goes back across the room, but Charity, she was enjoying the closeness and the time that they were spending together and her husband helping her out. But Kevin was back to searching men on that phone. Like this, and I'm like, boy, you... Oh, my Lord, is all I can say. We go over to Lady Mae and she goes in to let Grace know that she has her support and reminisces about an Easter speech that Grace gave when she was a little girl. And of course, it isn't that cut and dry. So she lets Grace know that she shouldn't use this as an opportunity to disgrace the church. If I had a mama like Lady Mae, I probably would have just like left and never ever came back. Even if if I had came back for the sister funeral, I would have been on the first thing smoking after they lowered her in the ground and threw that dirt on her, because Lady Mae does not like Grace. So Grace asks her, if she has ever loved her, and Lady Mae is like, yes, I did, but I love your daddy and I love our church more. So you need to get in that pulpit, do this sermon, make it as generic as possible so you can get on out of there. Don't start no mess. So the following day, Grace is in her office when Noah comes in to let her know that Stacy, the woman from the meeting who spoke up, because remember Grace did the sexual abuse or domestic violence group that she started at the church. And the lady that spoke up and gave her testimony, her husband beat her up after the meeting. But we kind of knew that was going to happen by the way he was acting when he came to pick her up. So she gets Kevin involved and, have him to try and find a shelter for the lady and her kids, but he's having trouble. So he suggests that they call the county shelter, but Stacy says no, because the last time he beat her up, she was there and it was a total disaster. So Grace ends up getting Stacy and her kids into a hotel room and tries to talk to her about what happened. And it's the typical story. Stacy would rather be with an abusive man, and have her kids exposed to that violence than to be alone, So she's telling the story about how she grew up and she never felt love, and he's the first person that made her feel love. So we go back to Charity, and she is interviewing for her new choir director. And the guy that came in, his name is Carlton, and two of them hit it off quite well, and they're singing Jesus Be a Fence and just really having a good time. And I'm thinking Charity must have a attraction to gay men, because she doesn't know her man is gay, but she knows this guy is gay. Well, actually, he tells her that he's gay, so there's no mess. But she definitely seems infatuated with this guy and says that she doesn't care. And he tells her that he lost his last job once he came out and told everybody that he was gay. So Kevin meets up with Charity, and she lets him know that she hired Carlton as the choir director. And when she tells him that Carlton is gay, he tells her that that's not a good idea. So the two of them bicker about it, with Kevin saying that although Nigel was gay, he wasn't open about it and, flaunted it in everybody's face. But Charity says that she thinks that the world would be a better place if everyone would just live their truth. So anyway, so Pastor Greenleaf and Mavis meet up, and he shares with her that Grace will be preaching and May isn't happy. So he shares that his conversation with Grace, and asks Mavis if Grace didn't come home to preach, what did she come home for? So he knows that Mavis is kind of behind whatever is going on with Grace and whatever Grace is trying to do. So Mavis calls him on his bullshit and tells him that he knows good and well why Grace came home. And the two share like a strange moment about, missing trains or something. And I'm thinking, let me find out that Lady Mae stole the bishop from Mavis before he became the bishop. Because that's what I'm thinking this is headed to. So Jacob goes into Kerissa to let her know that Craig called and invited them to dinner. And Kerissa says that she is okay as she works on a painting. And then Jacob lets her know that if they go, Craig would be expecting something in return. And Kerissa says she knows exactly what they are expecting, but she would take one for the team if it means that it will help Jacob get back in his father's good graces. I'm like, good Lord have mercy. Like, I ain't met the man yet that I love so much that I'm willing to sleep with another man in order for him to get what he wants. And then remember in the first episode when she was so judgmental about Grace and Grace, what religion Grace was following and all of this other nonsense. But then she just as ratchet as Grace is. But anyway, Jacob says that, he would not have another man touching his wife. Just like, okay, y'all. So then Jacob says that the difference is that Kerissa is his, like his possession. And I'm like, boy, are you serious right now? Like, you sleeping with a white woman of all things, but you don't want your wife to get her groove on, even though you getting your groove on. And don't forget that while Kerissa would be sleeping with Craig, I'm sure Jacob would be expected to sleep with the wife. So Jacob, come on now. You know, the shoe on the other foot and it don't feel too good. So I guess because Kerissa liked the sound of that, you know, him taking charge and taking possession and saying that she belonged to him and only him, the two share like an intimate kiss. And next thing we know, Jacob knocking her back out like he should have been doing all along instead of over there sneaking around with Alexa. In their bedroom, Lady Mae accuses the bishop of using Grace to get back at her because of faith. And he wanted her to go to Birmingham with him, but she declines the offer like, I ain't as easy as Kerissa is. So anyways, Sophia and Zora, you know, they come into Grace's room as she's trying to call, oh my God, I forgot who she was calling. Anyway, she was trying to call somebody about a sermon or getting a sermon or helping her with the sermon, and Zora lets Grace know that Jacob just downloads. Okay, this show. All right, so Jacob downloads his sermons from the internet, and Grace seems surprised, but when the girls walk out, she brings up a website and prints out one for herself. And I'm just like, really, Grace? I thought you were supposed to be like this dynamic, great minister before you left and moved to Arizona and, you know, started your new life where you didn't want to be part of the church. So anyway, it is Sunday morning and Lady Mae is doing her job as First Lady when Jacob and Kerissa, you know, come in with the great after-sex glow on their face, which is not missed by Lady Mae. Then Carlton is introduced to Kevin and Carlton is pouring on the charm, you know, just being himself. And then we find out that Charity has told all their business to Carlton. So Carlton, you know, feels like he knows Kevin already, which I don't understand why he ain't told Charity that her man is gay. But, you know, maybe we'll get to that later on in the season. So church starts and Sophia is leading the choir with a remixed country version of By and By. I just don't know. So anyway, Mavis arrives just in time to hear Grace preach. And so Grace starts her sermon, you know, with a scripture from Matthew. And when she looks out and sees Mavis there, she changes her mind and goes to Job 3:26, I think it was. And Lady Mae is about to come up out her seat because she told that girl, don't embarrass the family. And so the show ends with close-ups of Lady Mae glaring at Mavis, and Mavis is readying for the good word. And then she moves on to Grace, like, girl, I'm going to skin you alive if you cross the boundary that I set for you. So it was another good episode, but there was some funny parts in it. And go ahead and leave your comments below, rate the video, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, I shall chat with you guys later. Bye-bye.